Morning guys, Sifu Scott Barbell here at Wuxia Martial Arts. Today we'll be taking a look at the final part of our high-level defense off closed door. The last two sessions that we've taken a look at, the whole idea is that we've stepped in, right, and that somehow either the guy was on guard and we end up crossing with his arm this way, right, or maybe he tried to block or something like that, and we end up cross, all right? So we call this the closed door, all right? When we step in and we end up punching and we end up cross like this, outside to outside, we call this a closed door, right? If we end up same side like that, like my partner or opponent is here and we're both open on this side, we call that open door, all right? So keeping that in mind, that everything we've done for the last 2 weeks has taken a look at, we punched in and then we end up closed door, meaning that we were crossed up. Okay, so with that said, let's do a quick review. And for this, what we'll do is we'll go character 2, right? And we'll just set up stationary like that. All right, so I'm gonna come forward just a little bit. All right, so for a little bit of review, we're gonna start with the punching. All right, Nansao Wusao. Remember, for the beginners, we can start here from that wedge, all right, like that. And then I just pull this hand back. So the Wusao is hidden behind the Nansao. Remember, the Nansao is the seeking hand, it's trying to feel. All right, what's going on? It always goes forward, all right, tries to feel. And then the Wusao is back here protecting, right? And I like to have that Wusao definitely protecting my throat here. I never want to have it too low, definitely don't want to have it too high, right? So right around here and one hand away. All right, so with that said, we go here, and now I turn these both into fists like this, all right? So the back one should be facing forward, right? So it has the most direct path to punch. Right, never resting to the side, never pointing up, never pointing down, always pointing exactly where it wants to go, which is to your opponent's face. All right, so from here, from stationary, all right, we punch off of the backhand, so this comes over, boom. And you remember, option number 1, when we ended up closed door, was that this guy's pressure moves me up a little bit like that. All right, so we punch, boom, option 1, pressure goes up, and I punch forward just like that. And you can see this goes a little bit higher, because we assume our partner is maybe taller than us, you know, in this case. So that's why we operate within the high level defense, right? So we're going a little bit higher than mid-level, where everything would be, you know, here, maybe if we're about the same height, right? All right, so from here, option 1 is I punch, right? Goes up, right? And then I punch under and replace. And you can see this backhand is ready to go, just like that. All right, so from the side, I punch forward this way, gets pushed up, and as soon as that happens, the door is open for this one to come back. Now, you notice when I do this and I punch up and I punch, that the first punch doesn't stay out there. That's very, very important, right? A lot of people make this mistake where they'll try to punch and now they got both arms out, all right, which is a big no-no in Wing Tsun. We never want to have both arms all the way out and never want to have both arms all the way in. So it's always one outside and one inside like this, right? Just like that. Okay, so from here, option 1, punching off the backhand, pressure lifts it up, and I punch underneath. All right, very good. So now we take a look at option number 2. Option number 2 is that I punch off of the backhand, all right, and this guy's pressure is kind of weak, or maybe he tries to sneak one in low, right? So I sink and punch at the same time, right? And I'm gonna ride this over. Now remember, if he punched really, really low, well, that gets us into something different, where we would use the gundar, or we would press or something like that. The idea on this is that we made contact and then he just starts to like maybe slide, or his structure is just really bad. You know, maybe it breaks down from the power of our punch, right? So I punch and then, and I get that short Dajang, that little explosive energy, all right? So from the side here, I punch, all right, and then boom, and I go a little bit lower like that. And you can sink, you can turn your hip a little bit if you want. So you go boom, crack, like that, and I sink from here. All right, and what this does is it traps his arm. So I'm punching on top of his arm in order to trap his arm, right, and punch. And you remember that, we call that gate trapping, right? Gate trapping, like a gate, yeah. These are his gates, right, to open his body. You have to get past the gates, right, to get to the body. Now, so if I can trap, boom, crack, like that, and I can trap him and hit him at the same time, is a very high level skill in Wing Tsun. So we call gate trapping, all right? So option 2, I punch, his structure is poor, I sink that low. All right, option 3 we talked about last week in the second part. So option 3 is that I punch, right, high, and then this guy pushes my arm to the side, which is a different pressure than him pushing up or him not having structure, right? So when I punch, maybe he like really tries to push my arm to the side, maybe he slaps it, maybe he blocks it, right? Whatever it may be. Maybe he's not trained at all, right? And he just freaks out and moves, right? So when I go here and this gets pushed, I let it collapse at the elbow, right? Just like that. So it's nice and loose. And then the punch comes underneath, and then this comes back to the chest. So it kind of looks like a bong sao, and I would say the motion is similar to bong sao, but it doesn't hold the structure the way that a bong sao would hold structure, right? So at mid-level, we're able to keep the shoulder down, and we're able to hold structure and do these things. At the high level, that structure really needs a lot of musculature here to hold it. So we don't hold on to that pressure, right? So I just let this fold, punch comes underneath, and this comes right back here on guard. This is one that a lot of people have trouble with, right? So from here, when I punch, a lot of people can do this, but they end up leaving this bong sao type structure out, and inevitably they end up getting trapped, right? So more important than the punch is that when I go here, that as I roll through, this is gonna come down. So if I don't use the other hand and I just punched, this goes here, and then it comes down to the position. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And when I add that second hand, right? So I punch, it goes 1, 2, 3. And you can see now we can kind of get the time shortened a little bit. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, I can go 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, as I punch with the second punch, like this, to go up and underneath, as the punch is going forward, this one is pulling back simultaneous, just like that. Right, so I punch, and simultaneously I bring that punch back. All right, so one more time. Boom. And you see it comes back here. As the punch goes out, this motion leaves his fist, right? Why? Because the idea is that when he pushes my arm to the side, if I keep following it, right, then I expose something, right? And I only need to borrow energy for a little section of time, right? Which is just to get it away from my torso, right? I don't need to be able to stick with this thing and then try to punch and lead him all the way out here. I just need him to miss by a little bit, right? So when I go pop, like that. All right, and from the side, here, you can see as this punch goes out, this one comes back down. So punch, and from this side, punch, this goes here, the fist is available, and as the punch comes back, this chambers to the chest. So I punch here, here. 1, 2, 1, 2, just like that. All right, so let's review real quick. All right, closed door, high level defense. You had option 1, right? I punch off the backhand. I'm punching off the backhand specifically so that I can get power, right? So from the front hand, right, is more of an advanced concept that I would go and be able to get some power from here, like that. Yeah. And for the advanced students, I would say those of you that are, you know, like student grade 9 and above, you should play around with that, like stepping in with the front hand, trying to get power, trying to do all of that. Right? But in reality, for most of the students here, you should be trying to punch off of the back, okay? So from here, right, I punch off of the back, I let it go, and then I punch up underneath, just like that. All right, so option 4 we take a look at now is when I punch, right, this guy's gonna give me pressure, but he gives me pressure to the opposite side. So we have pressure going across this way, right? But maybe he pushes it out this way, right? Now the same thing, at a mid-level, the Tsun sao really works nice. We can get the shape of the hand, the structure is not too bad, right? We're able to keep this down. But at the high level, the Tsun sao structure requires a lot of musculature to make it work, which places a lot of stress on my shoulder, okay? So what we want to try to do is, instead of making the shape of the hand, is we keep it shaped as a punch. Yeah, so I go here, I punch off the backhand, and now from here, as I receive pressure to the outside of my arm, I'm gonna shift and punch at the same time. I always teach the students this is the equivalent of like drawing a bow, right? So if you were drawing a bow and you're going to fire an arrow, you want to pull this one back. But here's the trick: is when I go forward, right, and I do this thing and I get the pressure, I I don't want to pull my arm behind my body, right? Because I want my weapon in front. So as I go here and I punch, right? I turn, and you see as the center line opens, the fist that you can't see, suddenly you can see, and that's when it goes forward like that. So when I finish this, the elbow is still forward like that. That's an important concept for us to think about. If the elbow is behind the body, right, it's easy for this guy to invade your space, seal your elbow, seal your body, right? So I want to be able to keep it forward. So I punch like that, and then as I receive pressure, right, I shift, and I punch just like that. All right, and again, ready? So 1, shift and punch. Right? And you can see there's a definitive turn here. I go 1, and I shift and punch just like this. All right? And the reason is because if I stay here and I let this guy slide, there's a good chance that he's going to be able to hit you. Right? So when I go here, if I'm able to turn, then his pressure goes out slightly outside of my body, and I can hit. All right? So this one is not necessarily borrowing power too much, right? You're not going to feel the same dividends or payback that you would get at the mid-level with a Tsun Sun. But the idea is that here, you'll get a better slide as you let him come into his power. Right, I slide off to the side. So here we go. 1, 2. 1, punching off the backhand. 2, shifting. And you see this is nice and high. All right, so from the side, I go 1, 2, like that. And you see both fists are forward. Elbow is still in front of my body, not behind my body. All right, so I draw the bow, but it's a short draw, like that. And the reason is because I want to be able to punch right away. All right, and we'll go from this side. So I punch like this, and then I shift. You can see, even from this angle, you can still see the fist is forward, like that, because I'm going to want to be able to hit this guy, right? So here, 1, 2, 1, 2, just like that. All right, so 4 options. Let's review. Ready? Option number 1, I punch. All right, he pushes my pressure up. I go up underneath and punch. All right, option number 2 is I punch. His structure is kind of weak, so I shift and punch low with the low elbow to trap. Option number 3, I punch. All right, he pushes my arm across this way, all right, to the opposite side of my body. All right, so I let this go through like a bong style motion, and then I punch and bring it back. All right. Option number 4, I punch, and now he pushes on the same side of my body. This pressure goes here, and I shift and punch. All right, one more time, ready? Option number 1, punch, he lifts up, I punch up underneath. All right. Option 2, I punch, his structure breaks down, I punch low, all right, sealing his arm, breaking his structure. Option 3, punch, pressure goes to the side, I punch up underneath. All right, and option number 4, I punch, he gives me pressure to the other side, I shift, I can draw the bow using a Tsun Sun motion, but you see there's no supination, right? There's no twisting here. This is just straight, like that. All right, so here's the deal. Here's your homework. All right, your homework is to try those stationary, and then your homework is to try them stepping in, right? So from here, you step in, number 1, and you punch. Right? You do number 2, you step in, right, just like that, and then I step back and shift. You see that little step back? I can just punch a little here, or I can shift a little bit to the side using the gym mat. So as I go in, right, from here, as I punch, if I feel the structure is weak, I go bang, and I can shift off to the side. All right, option 3, I step in, right, he pushes, I punch up underneath like that. And then option 4, like Tsun Sun, I go here. And this one I twist, so I'm not going to step back unless I received a lot of pressure. But if you're very soft, you should be able to do it right from here, right, and turning the body. So it's going to feel a little awkward because you're going across the body, right? But this should go 1, 2, just like that. So one more time, ready? So option 1, I step in, lift, and I punch underneath. All right. Option 2, I step in, right, and if I could just punch here, I will. Right, but if you feel like you want to get a nice angle on the guy, you can shift as well. Option 3, I step in, right, I let it go through the like a bong style motion, and I punch up underneath. Option 4, right, from here I step in, and I draw the bow and hit it with the Tsun Sun motion. Right? So that is level 2. So level 1, right, is just trying to do this stuff stationary, right? So you punch, boom, here, pop, here, boom, here. Right? Level 2 is trying to do it where you're stepping in. All right, and then for level 3, all right, what I'd like you guys to do, because this will conclude our series, but for level 3, what I want you to do is you go back to stationary, okay? And for this, I'll start to add the Lin One Kun, the chained punches, right? The continuous chain punching. So from here, I would go punch, and for option 1, I go underneath, and then boom, 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 like that. I add a couple punches, all right? Nothing crazy. Try to remember, when you're learning and trying to make connections, right? You want to go slow. You want to make it smooth, and eventually your body will naturally add that speed with the adrenaline and all of that. So when you're learning, if you're trying to add a bunch of speed, you know, which is, you know, a lot of people they do it admirably, like they're enthusiastic, but sometimes that speed is going to hinder your progression. So you want to take your time. In the beginning, slow is smooth, and eventually smooth becomes fast, right? And then your technique is clean and effective, right? As opposed to sloppy and kind of ineffective, where you have to go back and you have to like get all those little mistakes out of there. And to do that, you'll have to do it slow anyway. All right, so level 3 is like, do the technique here, but then I add, boom, boom, boom. I add some punches, all right? And then option 2, I punch, all right? I break your structure, boom, 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 all right? 3, I punch, get the bong sound, boom, 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 here. 4, I punch, I draw the bow, boom, boom, boom. You can see every time I just come back to the center and I punch straight. That is level 3 of what you should be doing with this, is coming back stationary, adding chain punches. Level 4, all right, level 4, you can go from character 2, all right, and then you step in, punch, just like that, lifts, boom, and then I advance. You see that? So then I advance and I come back. All right, then option 2, I step in, all right, structure is weak, boom, I punch, and then I step in and punch, all right. Option 3, I step in and punch. He gives me that bomb style pressure, I go there, and I'm advancing. All right, so I don't stay here and punch, I advance with the sung bow, advancing steps. All right, and then option 4 is I step in, I draw the bow from here, okay? All right, guys, so those are 4 different levels or 4 different ways that you can train the 4 options for your high level closed door defense, right? Anytime that you're stepping in, you get crossed, and it's kind of up in the higher level. Think about those options that you have. Obviously, train the other side as well. You can add your own levels here. Maybe stationary, you try one side, boom, boom, like that, and then you switch hands and you try the other side, and then just eventually get it moving. But remember, keep it clean, make your technique smooth and efficient, okay? Yeah, all right, good job. Practice that next week. We will be taking a look at the Hong Kong Wuxia series, 7 options. We'll kind of break those up a little bit, and we'll show you how we can use some of the Hong Kong, like Wuxia free fighting strategy to go forward and trap this guy. And then for the more advanced people, we'll be adding some fun striking options afterwards as well. Stuff that maybe comes from some of the Chum Q, right? Some of the Sun and Tao applications as well. So that is coming up next week. Be broken up in probably a 2-part series, and then moving forward, we'll also take a look at some of the other trapping. So I'd say for the next 5 to 6 weeks, we're going to be taking a look at how we can punch and trap all together. All right, so that is that. So practice this diligently, and I look forward to seeing you guys in class. All right, have a good weekend, guys.